Okay, so we have a quorum, so I'm going to start the meeting now. In accordance with the requirements of the open meetings law, please be advised that this meeting is being audio-video recorded. The agenda lists all of the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the vice chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. Please address all comments to the vice chair. This meeting of the Conservation Commission will be held by the Zoom at the link provided on this notice. I'm not going to read the Zoom link because we're already here. So I will start with a roll call. So Richard Bursch.
Present.
Jeffrey Viviano.
Present.
Michael LaRouche.
Present.
Chris St. Germain is not present, and Mary Wilson is not present. So next we would go to announcements. I think we do have I have an announcement, which is that we had a new commissioner confirmed last night at the select board meeting. His name is Pete Stella. I have not seen him try to enter, so I'm not sure if he was sworn in or not. But I'm assuming he'll be at the next meeting if he's not here tonight.
What was his name, Jennifer?
Pete Stella or Peter Stella.
Thank you.
So I think that he did say that when the pollinator habitat needed to be mowed, that he had reached out and offered to mow. I'm not sure who he spoke to about that. So next is public comment. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes and on a subject matter under the direct jurisdiction of the commission. Comments about current agenda items are to be made during the comment period of the specific agenda item. Please address all comments to the vice chair. Do we have any public comments? Doesn't look like it. So I wanted to, I was looking through the agenda today, and for 67 Island Road, which I see that the applicant is on, I don't see it on the agenda. And I was wondering if that was on purpose or if we had planned on moving it to, and at the last meeting, Melissa Canavino is on right now. We had planned on having her here this week, but it's not on the agenda. And I don't want her to have to sit here and find out that we won't be able to hear it if we can't hear it if it's not on the agenda. Sophie, did she ask to continue?
No, it seems like an oversight. They should have definitely been on the agenda. I'd even gone last week to go visit and follow up and everything. So I don't know what we can do about that, if anything, for the time being tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't hear it if it's not on the agenda, is my understanding. So, Melissa, are you there?
Yes, I didn't know if I needed to be in a public comment or make a motion to talk, but I thought the last time I had heard from the chairwoman that I had to have everything in by this week. And we did that, and we met with Sophia, and I thought this week was when we need to have all of our photos uploaded and everything, and we did that, and then but then I didn't see us on the agenda for tonight. But if we could somehow, we can wait till the end, whatever.
So unfortunately, because it's not on the agenda, we can't hear it because of open meeting law. I really apologize for that. So we have to put you on the agenda for the next meeting, which would be February 19th.
Okay.
I'm sorry that happened.
No, that's fine. I just wanted you to know that we get all our information in, and that's okay.
Okay. Thanks so much. Sorry about that.
Thank you. No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Okay. So, it doesn't look like we have any minutes to approve.
No, there's no minutes. We're pretty behind on minutes.
Okay, so we'll move on to the new public hearings.
One thing I wanted to note before we moved on to the new public hearings is the possible continued, last minute.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So 32 Hemlock Drive, they originally wanted to continue well, they wanted to be here, but they couldn't be here, the representative, Greg Roy. However, I did draw it to their attention that we still haven't received certified mailing receipts for the abutter notifications, and it was brought to our attention that they need to re-advertise because they did not notify abutters.
Okay, so they're looking to continue to February 19th?
I don't believe that's possible because the deadline for submitting to the ledger passed.
Okay,
It would be February, March. It would be a March date.
okay.
And Jenny, technically, if they did not notify abutters, the hearing was improperly opened.
I was
So we
just gonna ask that.
could continue it, so.
So we-
The next meeting that we have with them will technically be their first on this
Okay.
application.
Okay, so we will just leave that one as is and not do anything with it.
No, if
And
they
then-
have to re-advertise, if they didn't advertise it properly, it wasn't properly opened. Or
Right.
the application wasn't complete, so we couldn't open it, so
Okay,
there's no sense in continuing it, because we'd have to reopen it anyway, we have to start from scratch.
okay. Okay, thank you for that, Richard.
Thank-
Okay, so on to the first new public hearing. So pursuant to MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Daniel Sheehan of Redbird Construction for removal of an existing deck within the 50-foot no-build zone and 30-foot no-touch zone of a bordering vegetated wetland, as well as construction of a two-family dwelling within the 100-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland, located at 213 Electric Avenue. Do we have the applicant in the meeting?
I am his representative, Daniel Sheehan with Haley Ward.
Okay. Do you want to go tell us about the project?
Sure, if I could share my screen, I think it might be easier.
Yep. Let me give you permission. I give you permission for that, right?
I believe so as the host.
Yeah.
Okay, sharing is not turned on. I will send a request.
Um, Okay.
Okay. And let's see here. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Great. So the work itself here is going to be relatively straightforward, so I might just kind of blow through this. But if you guys have any questions or concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them as we kind of continue here. So what you see here, as you can see, is it's a, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see my mic popping up. So as you can see here, this is kind of part of a bigger scale, but specifically for 213 Electric Ave. What we have here shown in green is after construction, this is all the stuff that would be proposed to be in a vegetative state, most likely grass. And what you see here in the gray is the long driveway going to be paved bituminous, and then in this olive color here is going to be that multifamily dwelling structure, as well as a porch in the back or deck in the back. What we're showing on the side here is like a P-stone diaphragm is going to be acting as a filter strip. We also have some rain gardens that are proposed down here, which I'll show in the next slide here. This one's just a little bit easier with a lot clearer. As was mentioned by Jenny, you can see there's an existing wood deck here that's to be removed. I personally have not been to the site, so I don't know the state of it, but based on some aerial, it does look like it's kind of been overrun by the vegetation within the surrounding area. We can talk about that later. Just to kind of go to the other busier plan set here. Again, this section here with my cursors, if you guys can see that, is 213 Electric Ave. So the grading here actually does show that a lot of things kind of want to flow to this existing wetland a bit further down on 221 and not so much into this isolated wetland up the top. And here are is the rain garden. I'll zoom in a little bit better here so you can kind of see. This is that rain garden. They'll be kind of treating a lot of the storm water that's going to be sent down here. Just for full transparency, because this is part of a bigger plan, this has also been submitted to the planning board for a stormwater permit application. And honestly, that's really it. I'd be more than happy to any questions that you guys may have. And if you want me to zoom to anything specific, feel free to ask. So I'll turn it back over to you, Jenny.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for the applicant? Jeff?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's any erosion control. I don't see any on the plan.
Yeah, there is some. You can't see it on this plan. I could actually maybe pull up a different one where you can actually see it all. But we're proposing silt fence and straw wattles, going to be kind of lining out and around. Just give me 1 second while I pull up the other one here. Apologize, I should have had this one all set up ready to go. Okay, pull that one up. And with any luck, see if I have to change the screen that's being shared here. Oop. Can you guys see this? Or are you guys still seeing that previous screen?
Oh, we can see that.
Can't
Yeah.
see it.
Perfect. So right here is the silt fence line kind of coming down. So this is going to be the erosion
Gotcha.
control barrier.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions from commissioners? Richard?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You said the deck was coming out? Or it's
Yep.
proposed?
So this would be being removed. I'm going to go back to
Okay.
one of the previous
And
ones
you
here.
have a narrative for revegetating the area? When you take
we
the
do-
dog out?
We do not, but we can get that for you. Is
Okay.
there anything that the commission would like to see? Like any specific plantings or anything of that nature?
Generally, for myself, I like to see whatever's native and in the general area.
Okay.
You kind of want to at least the 30-foot no-touch zone, at least try to get that revegetated in a way that matches the vegetation in the surrounding area.
Makes sense. Perfect. Thank you.
And so this is the property that's across the street from the church? I forget what they call it now.
Yes. Yes, I believe it is. I'll try to
Okay.
pull up this aerial if you guys can see that.
So, and that existing wooden deck, is that the stage that they used to have when they were having their festivals out there? Is that what that is?
That's actually a great question. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, because at one point, I know they had festivals and things like that.
Okay.
I thought they had a little stage out there. So that the staging's gonna be taken out and then you'll revegetate the area.
Yes.
And what's the limit of grading gonna be around the house again?
Yep. So see on this screen here, we're actually going to stay without the 50-foot buffer for a majority of it. We start to get a little bit creeping into it as you get close to that staging is, it's going to be removed. But everything is proposed outside of that 30-foot no disturb zone.
All right, and can you overlay the silt, the erosion protection again? Because it looks like
Yeah,
it kind
absolutely.
of stopped. Didn't
Yep.
look like you went the entire stretch of the.
So here's that overlay with the sediment erosion controls. This kind of masked area in the back here, they can't really see anything. That's where the existing staging area is.
Okay. And I guess can we put temporary erosion protection while they're removing the staging?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then we can call the limit of work the silt fence, I would imagine.
Yep.
Okay. And they've pretty much cleared that lot up to the property line.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been seeing from aerial. I personally haven't been to the site, but that definitely seems pretty fair. It looks like this has been an ongoing project.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at it from overhead. It almost looks like it burnt.
Okay, that would be news to me.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how old this picture is, but almost looks like it's burnt, and then again, it could be an old picture.
Yeah, I'm just flipping through as well on Google Earth here. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing.
Nope.
Okay.
You can't. If
Let me
you
try
wanted.
to, yeah, I'll try to share this. Can you guys see that?
There we go. Okay, yeah, so it looks like it's been cleared. Oh,
This is 2023. This looks like that's the area where the staging area was. Zoom in.
so it must be a Google
Yeah.
Maps. This really old picture.
Yeah, when I go to 2024, it still looks like it's cleared there. Looks like it's starting to get a little overtaken by the vegetation that's currently existing. But we can take a look at that. I know we have a site visit scheduled. I believe it's the 10th. No, sorry, the 19th. We can take a look at that so long as the snow's not kind of hanging everything. But
Okay. Do we have any other questions from commissioners?
Yeah, nope, just the silt fencing and then just a narrative for what we're gonna put back in that area to revegetate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Richard. Do we have any members of the public? Okay, and then I know we haven't done a site walk here yet because Sophie wanted to wait until the ground wasn't frozen to check it out more, right? Sophie?
Yeah, that's correct. With the snow cover, it makes it hard to kind of process everything on the ground visually. If nobody else had any questions or comments, I do have some specifically
Okay.
from DEP, and I just wanted to double check that I didn't miss any correspondence with the applicant about addressing those comments.
Okay, go ahead.
So the comments read, the applicant should propose a pre-treatment for the bioretention areas to receive at least a 90% TSS removal per volume 2, chapter 2, page 23. TSS removal sheets should be revised accordingly. The applicant should ensure the bioretention areas meet the design. And they also say, let's see, the applicant provides equations and figures for required recharge volume and required water quality volume, and states provided recharge and water quality volume below spillway for each lot, but the report does not demonstrate how the applicant arrived to these figures for the provided recharge volume and water quality. So they should be providing and showing their work with that. The applicant should include these equations to demonstrate confirmed compliance to standards 3 and 4. And then the special note says the commission may include the operation and maintenance plan, or yeah, operation and maintenance manual as a special condition in the orders of conditions if approved.
Okay, thank you for that. So I just want to clarify, this is, so they need to show their work for how they arrived at, how would I word that? Or say I'm taking notes.
To
Yeah,
just kind of,
so-
oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Sophia.
No,
Just
go
to kind of clarify too. So what they're really looking for is show the work on the volumes that are actually provided by the rain gardens. So I know with the stormwater report, I'm not sure how you guys want to handle this, so I'll leave it up to you. We are going forward with the stormwater permit application with the planning board, which my understanding is also going to be reviewed by the peer review for the town. But again, we have no issue, answering these questions too. So I don't want to try to confuse you, Jenny. So if you'd like me to kind of answer these questions, I'd be more than happy to. But if you were still just taking notes on what DEP said, that's kind of the gist of it. They want to make sure that we show the work for the 90% TSS removal credit for the rain gardens.
Okay.
They want us to show the work for the volumes for water quality and for recharge.
Okay, and then so are you saying that will all be included in your stormwater plan?
Correct. We did submit
Okay.
a stormwater report, yes.
Okay. Okay. Do we have any other questions from members of the public or the commission? Okay, so I think right now we would be looking for a motion to continue, and we would want to see temporary protection where the stage is removed and vegetation narrative for where the stage is removed. The limit of work is going to be the silt fence. And then we'd want to see the questions that the DEP has answered in the stormwater plan. Does that sound right, Richard?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so I'll be looking for a motion to continue with those conditions.
So moved.
Oh, we need a date.
Oh, to February 19th. Is that when we want to come back, Daniel?
That's when the site walk is scheduled. I don't know if it makes sense to go for the meeting after that. If that's your next available, we'll surely take it.
Okay, so Sophie, what do you think? Would it make more sense to go to March? Where you have the site walk on the day of the next meeting?
Yeah, I wouldn't schedule it for February 19th. I would do the first meeting in March.
Is, I should know this, but let me look at my calendar.
5th.
It is March 5th. Okay, so I'd be looking for a motion to continue to March 5th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call. Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Richard Bursch,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
and then I for myself. That's everybody. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
guys
Have a
very
good
much.
night.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay. Just update my notes really quick, and then we will move on to the next meeting. Okay, so the next new public hearing is pursuant to MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by Jeff Viviano for removal of 10 dead trees and 2 leaning trees within the resource area and within 30-foot no disturb zone of Lake Shirley, located at 338 Sunset Lane. So I know that we have the applicant here.
Yes, I am.
Yes, he's a member of the commission. So I think, I don't know, if everybody was on, we don't have a quorum tonight. with Jeff not being able to vote on this. So we can hear it and then Chris and Mary can watch the video and then sign the Mullen rule.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we'll be able to vote on it next week. But Jeff can present tonight. Or
Okay.
your,
Yeah, I'll at least get your feedback for tonight and then, yeah, I guess, we'll talk about it in a couple of weeks too.
yeah, I mean, or
Um,
unless, if you'd rather wait, we can wait too. It's up to you.
Well, I'd at least like to get feedback. So,
Okay,
if there are some issues, at least I could address them at the next meeting. So,
I think that
um,
makes sense.
if I could share my screen, I'm on an iPad. I think I can do it.
You should be able to. You,
Okay. Oh, not exactly sure how to do it.
and also, I know you put a lot of documentation in OpenGov, so if it'd be easier for Sophie to share for you, we could do that too.
I kind of have them in order here, I think. So
Okay,
might be easier if I do share my screen.
well, I haven't used Zoom on an iPad in a while, but I think you have, you should have like do you have like a hamburger or like 3 dots?
Yes.
And if you click on
So
those, you should see share screen, hopefully, in those
there's
options.
there's a share function, but I have to select the photos that I want to share. I don't know if that. Um, hmm. Yeah, this was a lot easier before they updated this. Okay, let me see if I can just select the photos. Okay, do you
It
have
looks
that?
like you got it. Yep.
Okay,
It says you've started screen sharing. There we
okay,
go. Oh,
perfect.
wow. Okay.
So this is, well, you can see the one leaning tree and you can see where we swim, that sanded area there
Yep.
in the center of the screen, kind of right there.
Okay.
So, and I tried to stand the tree up. I I had a backhoe come and we climbed 3/4 of the way up the tree and we put chains around it. We tried to pull it and we actually snapped the chain. So it's just not going to be able to be saved. I was hoping to kind of lean it back up and then maybe get some. We had some pieces of granite all in place to put under there. So that I tried that last winter when the ground was frozen and it just didn't really work. It's mostly a gravel and sand yard, so I wouldn't necessarily say that it freezes. I mean, the loom area freezes, but the sand and gravel you can honestly dig in the yard during the winter. It doesn't really freeze up that hard. So weren't successful there. So there's these 2 trees. They kind of share almost like share a root ball. There's that one leaning and then the one that's kind of leaning behind it. So when we built the house 7 years ago, I would say the tree that's leaning really far was probably about the angle of that other tree right behind it. So those 2 trees I'm looking to remove just because of the danger of, kids and us swimming. And then the bank itself, I can't imagine the size of that root ball. So those are the 2 leaning trees that I'm looking to remove. And then this is kind of a picture that's closer up of those 2 trees. The one on the right is the one that's leaning really far. And then the one on the left is, really close to the bank as well. And we get heavy wave action here. This faces west. So the waves actually come up over those rocks at some points, especially in the fall when the water's still up and, there's good wave action. So this bank just keeps eroding. So those 2 trees we're looking to take down. There's this tree that's falling, well, fell down, and it's still alive, but I've had a couple of jet skiers get stuck in it. And I just don't want the liability. It sticks out about 50 feet. So I'm looking to take care of that tree. There's actually, that's another shot of that tree that's actually leaning out into the water. But it's got some branches that come down, almost like cripples that are keeping it up and keeping it alive, amazingly. But that's been there for 7 years since we've owned the property. There's this other dead tree that you can see kind of right there. That's kind of, it goes up into the woods. You can't really see the other 20 feet of it, but looking to take that tree. That's another picture of that tree that I just showed you. And you can actually see the lake is down now, and that's pretty close to the current level. So I was looking to get it done now, obviously, so that we can get, like a little, they have these little Kubotas with little arms on them. You stand on the back of it. It's not like a real heavy piece of equipment, but Curtis is the one doing the tree removal, and he said he can just drive out there and cut them up into pieces and discard them pretty easily when the lake is down. So this is a peninsula of land. We have about almost an acre. This is the tip of the peninsula to the right. And my granddaughter and her friends go out here all the time during the summer. And there's like 3 trails. There's one that's kind of on the base of this west side. I'm sorry, the east side of this. There's one that's up on the hill, and there's another trail that's kind of on the west side of the peninsula. It's not trails that we made. I think it's just trails from wildlife going in and out of there. And so you can see these trees. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them that are dead. We actually had a lightning strike 2 years ago. And it hit, I thought it was just the 2 trees on the end, but obviously some other trees were affected by it. It was a pretty strong strike. The house even shook a little bit. And it's not our first lightning strike. We had one 5 years ago where it split about 120-foot pine that was about 2 feet across at the base, that it split from the root ball all the way up to about 20 feet from the top. That was the only thing holding the tree together. I'm not sure how it stayed standing, but it did. And that was about 15 feet from the house, which did about $35,000 in damage to the house. So it just seems lightning strikes. This peninsula really gets quite a few of them since we moved in here. We're realizing this. So those 7, is it 7? Yeah, that's 7 up here. I'll show you more detailed pictures. This is another tree. You can actually see it's broken probably 3/4 of the way up, and the tip of it is kind of leaning up against another. You can see it's on like a 30-degree angle to the left of that tree that's standing there right now. That's the top of it. So that tree we'd like to take. This is one of the dead trees. You can see that there's a lot of rot, and it's just in danger of falling. And I think the longer we wait, the more of a mess it's going to make, in my opinion. This is that one tree that 3/4 of the way up, it's gone. So although it looks healthy, it's completely dead. These 2 trees, you can see the one on the left is very compromised. I think that's where maybe some lightning came down through this tree. And then the one on the right, which it shares the same root ball, it's kind of got the same thing going up on the screen on the right-hand side of that tree. And they're both obviously dead. This tree is the one that got struck by lightning because all the bark from this tree was on the ground the next morning when we went out there. So those 2 trees shares the same root ball, but that was the major one that got struck. And that's out on the tip of the peninsula. You can kind of see the lake bed off in the distance there. So those are those 2 trees that were kind of dead on the tip. This is another tree. I just kind of turned around to my left from looking at those other 2 trees. That tree is dead. This tree is obviously dead. And this tree is obviously dead. So I think that's it. And I've hired Curtis for a day and he's gonna try and get as many trees out of there as he can. So I'm not sure if we're gonna get them all out, but at least I'd like to get a good portion of them out, and definitely those two leaning trees on the shoreline. I think that's about all I have, so if you guys have any comments or concerns, I'll address it, and then you guys can all hear about it again in a couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you for that. Do
Sure.
we have any questions from members of the commission?
Obviously, all the stumps will stay. We're gonna cut them as low as we can, but I'm not gonna grind anything.
Okay, and Richard has his hand up.
Hey, Jeff, just a quick question. So the ones out on the peninsula, I mean, there's more than enough coverage out there that I don't feel the need to replace those. But you do have the couple there that are by themselves over by the little bit of beach. Do you have plans to replace
I've
trees that
actually,
aren't?
believe it or not, Rich, I actually did plant 2 trees over there. With just knowing that those were gonna kind of go. Let me see if I can get a picture that shows them. You can see there's 2 smaller trees almost behind them. If you can, it's maybe 8 feet off the bank. I guess you can see zoomed in these 2 here.
Okay.
I planted those years ago, knowing that these were gonna go. So I think I've already kind of checked that box off, if that's okay.
The only thing that you'd have to see what it says in the bylaw for given the size of the trees coming out and what the replacement needs to be. I think the
Okay.
trees within the 30 foot, there is a schedule in the bylaw, and forgive me, I don't remember exactly what it is for a tree of 12 inches or 15 inches of what you have to put back in. That would be my only suggestion on these 2, and then the third one that's completely down, where there's just not a lot of coverage around there. Like I say, myself, the ones out on the peninsula, there's more than enough other trees out there that'll fill in without a problem. So it'd just be a matter of whatever the bylaw requires for the replacement.
Okay, so
That would
which,
really be my only suggestion.
what's the third tree, I guess?
The one that's perpendicular to the water.
Okay,
So you're
so
taking the 2 out.
I guess I'm questioning the reason for it. I mean, nature has taken these trees. I'm not really asking to take them, but they are gonna die. So, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's just
I
so
wasn't
that we
expecting to
put some
replant,
trees
in all
back
honesty.
into the area so that, I mean, if all the trees fell down, now you wouldn't have any trees there along the bank, and the trees do provide a service, holding in the banking, providing shade for the water. So if there are reasons that the trees are there, so that would be my only comment was whatever it says in the bylaw for replacement when taking them out.
Okay, so would you accept these 2 trees as being replacements or no? That I
I would
planted.
certainly accept those as towards whatever the bylaw says you're supposed to put back.
Okay,
If those 2 trees satisfy the requirement of the bylaw of the regulations, then that's fine.
okay,
Where you said you planted those in anticipation. But
okay.
it
And
would just
then
be whatever.
just
Whatever.
another concern that I have is I have a lot of these red pines. This red pine that you can see leaning here. There's a lot of them like growing that are maybe 2 feet tall up on the peninsula, outside the 30. And what I've been kind of doing over the years is kind of replanting those. Would you be okay if I just, use those native trees that might be only 2 feet tall? And I mean, they really take off pretty quick. I probably planted about 8 of them, 5 or 6 years ago, and one of them is already like 20 feet tall. It's amazing. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, I would.
just because I like to have the
Just-
native species there, and that's really the only thing that survives really well because it's a hard pine. And
Yep.
there's tons of them around the lake, so
Yeah, or I mean, wherever you get the trees from is fine. Like I say, it's just a matter of just satisfying the regulation.
okay,
So,
okay, great.
you know, again, just to make sure that there's trees back in there that will grow back into the spots and provide the holding with the root system and
Okay.
the shade. So,
And I was actually gonna maybe put one over here. You can see in the center of the screen. So
Mhm.
maybe I'll put one like 5 feet off the bank there because there's no trees right there right now. So, and then I'll tuck another one in where those two trees are. And I think that might meet the bylaw with the two trees that I planted like 4 or 5 years ago. Okay, great.
Madam Chair.
Yep. Oh, yeah, did you have something you wanted to say to me, Richard? Okay. Do any other members of the commission have questions for the applicant? Sophie? Did you raise your hand, Sophie?
Yeah, sorry. Jeff, were you able to see my site visit notes and comments on OpenGov?
I did, yeah.
And do you have any, what is your response to my notes and comments?
Well, like I said, my granddaughter and I even go out there with my granddaughter quite often on the peninsula. And the reason I'm doing this is that one tree that's kind of missing the top of that fell when she was out there. And I just don't want it's a danger to our grandchildren and their friends to have these dead trees out on peninsula when they're out there playing. So that I mean, I understand your comment that it's good for the environment for these decaying trees. They provide habitat and food for squirrels and birds and everything. But I just I'm just fearful that they're going to get injured. Is my issue with. I mean, otherwise I would just leave all these trees. I wouldn't care about them. There's no reason for me to really take these trees down if we didn't go out there. But that's my concern. I just don't want that to happen. So I guess that's my response.
Did anyone else on the commission have a chance to review my notes?
I did not, but I'm looking for them
And
now.
if, I don't hear anybody, so I can just read them out loud.
Okay. That'd be great.
So this is what I submitted on my inspection report. So the overall comment states mostly all the trees located are identified are wildlife habitats assets and should be protected per the WPA values. Most are located in buffer zones, some fully and partially within the resource area, lake and the bank. None of the trees proposed to be removed that were only identified by the inspector myself were assessed to be a risk as part of the tree site visit assessment forms, which I completed and attached. None posed risk to buildings, sidewalks, parking, landscaped areas, traffic, utilities, or recreation sites. However, skip down to the exceptions. 2 large mature trees, which are the ones that Jeff pointed out, are a few feet apart and have a decent lean towards the water near the recreational area. Should these trees leaning furthest towards the water pose a threat to entry and beach access and swimming, area could be cut if the stump was left intact for erosion issues. And then in the middle, I wrote trees analyzed show wildlife values such as habitat, nesting, nutrient recycling for soil and water, fish structure, and shelter as areas for spawning, turtle basking, amphibian habitat, and food for birds. Dead decaying trees provide screening for rainfall, root systems on bank hold soil, prevent further erosion of bank from rainfall, wave current washout, and resource areas. Removal of these trees would further deteriorate and threaten the integrity of the Lake Peninsula area for coniferous dominant tree stand. I do have other notes, but those are separate from that OpenGov report.
So, Sophie, where in OpenGov is this? Because I try to look at usually the administrative review and I'm not seeing notes there. Am I missing somewhere that you're putting notes?
So it's the RDA -24-8.
Yep,
And then if you go to the Conservation Commission site walk completed January 28th,
yep, I'm here.
it should show right in the site inspection notes. I could share my screen to show you exactly where it is.
Yeah, I found it. I never thought to click on the site inspection. I always look at the notes at the bottom where it has a comment. But
Yeah, those are,
I
yeah,
assumed that's
separate.
where notes went. Okay, now good to know for the future. Great, okay. So I was just looking in the wrong place. Okay, so it sounds to me like what you're saying is, I just want to try to clarify. The trees that are on the peninsula, you think that those provide good habitat, and you don't see why those would have to go. And then the other trees are healthy, and you're worried about losing that habitat. Do you have any recommendations based on your notes that you would like to see?
I mean, you kind of summed it up. I think that the trees that are not quite as dead as the rest of them on the water's edge that are leaning, I think if we looked at the bylaw, or if Jeff looked at the bylaw and did some sort of replacement for those, that's definitely fair, as they do pose a hazard, but the rest of the trees I still don't see as posing a hazard in relation to where they are and any structures or anything like that. I don't really
Okay.
have other recommendations other than kind of opposing.
Then that's mainly the ones on the peninsula.
Right.
Okay. I might have missed it. Jeff, do you have the caliper of those trees?
The two
That-
leaning trees or all of
Yeah,
them?
the two leaning trees and then the other tree that is still the one that's in the water right now, kind of.
The one that's in the water is probably 10 inches around,
Okay.
but I don't think Rich was concerned about that one. The other one that's big and leaning is probably, 14 inches. And the one
Okay.
behind it is probably 10,
Okay, so,
maybe 8.
oh. Could you work with him, Sophie, to make sure that we know what the ratio for replacement would be for those?
Yep, and I know
Oh.
just where to look for that answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I know where to look too, but so we're calling this a, okay, okay.
Can you zoom in a little bit on the bank behind the tree that's in the water right
This one?
now? Yeah. Now, it appears that bank,
I can stick
is-
half a shovel under that bank.
yeah,
Like
Is
I
it
said,
you-
there's massive wave action here. It faces west, so on those windy days, it really splashes right over that bank. I mean, you
yeah,
can see you can see roots all along that
Yeah.
shoreline. Yeah.
Have you considered putting maybe some like water loving shrubs in there to help stabilize it a bit? Or Richard would
Well, I have
probably know better than that.
650
but-
feet of shoreline, so it's
Yeah,
that's a lot of shrubs.
I just worry about your erosion
I mean,
there. It seems like,
I do have plans to put, some more of the stones that you see um around like part of it, but in all honesty, I it's just the expense. It's $50 per square foot to put a wall in. So multiply that times 650 feet times probably a 2-foot wall. It's a lot of money if I were to take on something like that, or even, I understand with the shrubs, but in my honest opinion, I could put a shrub a foot off of that shoreline and next year it would just be dead because the wave action just comes right up on that shore. So
well, it depends on
it would
some
just get
shrubs.
washed out.
Yeah, some shrubs, if they can get an established root system, that would actually like that.
True.
So
Yeah. I mean, it's solid. It's not,
yeah, as long
but
as it's
you
solid.
can stick your whole arm under there. I mean, right, yeah, under this area. Um,
I just worry because your trees are all falling in, so it seems like you might have some stabilization areas there.
this one you can see is, yeah, it's hanging out over the water, and yeah, there's
Yeah.
trees all around the peninsula that are, yeah, but this tree though, I tried to save that so many times. I should have
Yeah.
listened to the concrete guy when he was pouring the concrete. He said, I'll just pour like a yard of concrete around it, but he's like, that won't go anywhere. And I was like, I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but yeah.
Okay, so I think that it sounds like we would be looking to get a good replacement plan based on what you figure out what you have already planted, figure out the
Okay.
caliber of the trees that are coming out that were, are healthy even though they're leaning. And if you and Sophie could help you make sure that you have the right replacement plan when you come back.
Okay. And then
Um,
if I could get your comments on the dead trees.
I'd like to hear if any other members of the commission have any comments on the trees in the peninsula. And
And again, my granddaughter and her friends go out there, and we go out there all the time just to kind of hang out, and we swim, and there's a small area over there that has a clearing, and we swim out there every now and then. And I'm just fearful that one of those trees is going to come down, or branches. I mean, they're in pretty sad shape. So
Richard, do you have any thoughts about that, or does anyone else have any thoughts about that?
Personally, given the count of trees that he's looking to take out and the trees that are currently there on the peninsula, I don't see a big
Oh, you did say that earlier.
benefit to the dead trees that are there. I
if
mean,
I
he
can-
has expressed a safety concern.
Yeah.
And he's not looking to do any other development out in the area. So
Okay,
myself, I am fine with those coming out, given the reasons that he has given as a safety hazard. So, and again, to look at it, there's plenty of other trees in the area to provide habitat and the other things that Sophie had stated. And again, that's my opinion. But my biggest concern with the 3 trees out along the edge where the vegetation is limited, I just want to make sure that we are reintroducing trees into that area.
okay. Yeah, I think I would agree with Rich that will still be plenty of tree cover there. And that there's habitat there and those would be okay to remove, but
Okay. How about Mike?
Madam Chair, I, sort of lean toward what Sophie is saying. I'm a big believer in habitat but, certainly not at the expense of safety as well.
Right.
Um, if there was any, compromise on those 7 trees, but once again, I'm not saying, gee, save this one and not that one. There are plenty of trees there, but I have the vision of a yellow-bellied sapsucker going after a tree, and it's one of the most amazing things in nature to see. And those are some of the trees that a sapsucker would go after and make, that natural spectacle in front of you. But once again, that's something that I'm fond of. But once again, if you're telling me that your granddaughter and brings her friends there, they might like to see a yellow-bellied sapsucker do that.
Yep.
But once again, I think it's your call. You're a conservation commissioner yourself, so preserving nature is probably something that's in you to do as well. But I'm just a preserver of nature, and I can't help myself. But I sort of lean towards Sophie's point here. But once again, if there's a compromise that you can, cut a tree that's 6 feet tall, that's not going to harm anybody, but it will be a focal point of nature coming in. That's what I would say. And so, you're not going to be surprised if a 6-foot tree that's dead falls. But, certainly these look like they're 30 feet tall. That's pretty scary if you're a child. But those are my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Sophie? Sophie, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, sorry. I was just wondering if the thought of with the dead trees, damaged trees, was there any thought of removing the majority of the tree and leaving like a shorter snag that it wouldn't be as harmful if it were to fall? Just to leave something for the
honestly don't.
environment.
I mean, I don't think I'm going to be able to get a tree guy to climb up one of these trees. He's just going to drop it. Yeah. I mean, my other concern too is, I mean, I can get them down now when the lake is frozen and we can clean up all the debris. What if this happens one night and, Carl Luck goes skiing almost every morning and I can only imagine what that would do to you if you're water skiing and you hit one of these things floating in the lake that just broke off one night. I mean, that's another fear of mine too, is that it falls into the lake and floats away and it's in the middle of the lake and nobody knows about it. So
Okay, I'm having trouble wrapping my head around that theory.
well, if an 80-foot tree falls and the bank is 20 feet away and 60 feet of it breaks off, it's going to float away. So that's debris in the water. That
I mean, that
is a
does sound
hazard.
like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It does sound like that would be a part of nature taking its course. And I don't think that it would be very hard for everyone that lives on the lake to try to save everybody from trees falling on the water's edge. I think it's part of the natural process.
Okay, do we have any other comments from commissioners? Okay, do we have any comments from members of the public? Okay, so it doesn't sound like it. Just as far as the commission goes, I wanted to just make sure that Jeff has all the guidance that he needs for when he comes back to the next meeting. I think for myself, I would be looking for a good replacement plan for those 3 trees. And, also taking into account what Jeff has already planted. And then as far as the trees on the peninsula, for safety's sake, I would be okay with seeing those go. Does anybody else want to add anything to that, or do they have anything they'd like to say against that? Is that your hand up, Richard, or?
No, I was just agreeing with everything that you had
Okay.
said.
Okay,
I mean, I will say that, the trees there's probably 2 that aren't terrible yet, but in 5 years they will be. So those will be the last 2 that I'll have them target, I guess. And maybe those can kind of hang out for another 5 years until they're more of a concern, but yeah.
I think for now we can, that's what the most important thing I think is that replacement plan.
Yep.
And then we can see what, Mary and Chris say when you come
Exactly.
back.
Okay.
Okay, so I think at this point, I'd be looking for a motion to continue to the February 19th, 2025 meeting.
Madam Chair, I think there's only 3 of us present at this.
Oh, right, that's right, we can't vote at all.
Right, so this has just
Yep.
been informational.
Yes, okay, so we will move on to the continued public hearings. If there's nothing else on this. Okay.
Thanks for your
so-
time, by the way. Thanks, everybody,
Thanks.
for comments.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, so pursuant to MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Ryan Vickers for removal and replacement of a collapsed, sorry, we're continuing this one. We already talked about that. We didn't open it correctly last time. Okay. So we're moving on to the next one. Pursuant to MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Sally Tenole, Luck, and Richard Tenole, represented by Matthew Marrow, for replacement of one retaining wall, replacement of a section of walkway pavers, and removal of 3 trees with replacement vegetation on the shore of Lake Shirley, located at 352 Sunset Lane. Do we have the applicant or their person representing them here tonight?
Madam
Good
Chair,
evening, Madam Chair. Matt Morrow here, and my client Rick Tenoli is also present.
Okay, Jeff, did you want to say something?
I'm a direct abutter, so I have to recuse myself, so that does not have quorum.
Oh, okay. So unfortunately, Matt, we don't have quorum for this. Do you have, and I know for this, we were looking for. Do you have an update that you would like to give? We can't.
Yeah, I can show you my screen if
Okay,
that's okay.
yep,
Let me know when can you see that now?
yep, I can see it.
Okay. So what the commission asked for, they asked for 3 basic things on the plan. One was to have the erosion protection placed on the plan, which you can see it has been placed on the plan. Scrolling here, note number 2 is the erosion control note on the plan that was requested specifically by Commissioner Bursch. The third thing is Sophie, and actually DEP had mentioned it in their comments too. They wanted the square footage on the area where the pavers are going to be pulled out. So that comes out to 132 square feet. It's marked on the plan. to give the commission just a real quick synopsis on that. The scope of work on that essentially, and I put this in my response to DEP's comments, they're just going to be lifted out by hand and they're going to be placed back in the exact same spot by hand. So really nothing's going to change. They're just being moved out of the way because if you saw in the notice of intent application package, a bunch of them were actually starting to cave in along with the land. So we want to get those out, get the wall replaced with the new wall, and then put the pavers back where they were. That's basically it. The other thing the commission had asked for, and it is on this plan, this tree, you guys agreed to. The other two trees, I guess we were good with so far, at least some of you were. And then you wanted to put a note on there that this would be pruned. So there is a note on that tree by the driveway that it is just to be pruned only, and it'll be left. The only thing we would ask is on this plan, there's 6 shrubs proposed, you know, the large arborvitaes that get tall like trees, but, and they provide similar habitat to what's there now. But they wouldn't cause similar issues growing too close to the house, etc. We have 6 on the plan now, but as we're only removing 2 trees, my client was wondering if we could remove this one by the driveway and this one by the front of the house. And that's basically it. DEP had some comments that I addressed. Some of it had to do with floodplain issues. The floodplain is noted on the plan. It actually is right here, the actual specific floodplain elevation. That's just a quick synopsis.
Okay, yep, so that lines up with what I had in my notes. And do we have any comments from members of the commission? Even though we can't vote on this tonight. Doesn't look like it. And then I guess we probably, Richard, we wouldn't want to look for public comment right now. Just technically, we're not in a open hearing.
Well, technically, we can't open it, so just
Right.
make a statement that the meeting will be continued until what's the next one, the 19th?
Yes. Okay. So, thank you for that, Matt. And unfortunately, we'll have to continue this until February 19th, if that works for you and the applicant.
Understood, and appreciated. And thank you for letting me at least show you guys the changes that we made to at least show you that we, you know, we did do our due diligence for you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that is it for hearings for tonight. So, and 390 Howard Street is continued until February 19th. So, and we don't have any administrative determinations. We don't have any extension request permits. We don't have any certificates of compliance or notice of project changes. Sophie, do we have any updates on enforcements?
Looking. 40 Fire Road 12. Well, actually, 10 Mass Ave was. I guess I could start with that. I was somewhat
Okay.
in correspondence with the applicant and their representative from, I believe it was Dillis and Roy. They're putting together that the filing schedule that the commission requested, and still working on the plans.
Okay.
So it's going to take a bit, but we do, having the knowledge that they're working on it is a lot better than where we were prior. Let's see, Fire Road 12 we're still working on, in conjunction with the help of the land use director. I went out there and confirmed that the stockpiling of personal supplies is still there. We're hoping to get that removed as soon as possible. I think Chris was also in correspondence with the Lunenburg Police Department, since it is considered trespassing at this point. And
Okay.
48 Meadow Lane, at the last meeting, we had discussed having myself go out and look at the dumping, and stockpiling of debris within the buffer zone and within the wetland area, as well as removal of vegetation. I couldn't, I was not granted permission to access that site via 48 Meadow Lane, so I will have to send a letter to both 48 Meadow Lane and I believe it was 32, the adjacent property to access that site. And I will also include in that letter that we would like them to attend the next conservation meeting.
Okay,
And that is it for enforcement section.
okay. And then, so we don't have any emergency certifications. Does anyone have any comments on any of those enforcements? Okay, so move on to new business. And for topics unknown, 48 hours advance of meeting on the agenda is the thing that's immediately under topics unknown. A topic unknown, or so we have the DocuSign time frame listed here. So I'm assuming that's something that you'd like to go over, Sophie?
Yes. I'm just looking for a note for that. Okay, yeah, so I have spoken with the land use director for some guidance, and he supported the following, in which I wanted to convey to the commission. I've been working very hard to keep the office functioning within the deadlines and timeframes by state law. And since we have the ease of using the DocuSign tool, I'm advising that the commission signs documents in a preferably much more timely manner, since there are many moving parts that makes document creation, signing, sending to DEP and the applicant and the owner in an intricate process. With that being said, the office is working towards setting up an improved workflow that will help the department and board work more cohesively with timeframes, including working with the administrative assistant, who's Maddie, in her weekly schedule, which is only 10 hours a week. So in turn, the office needs all the DocuSign documents to be signed by all the commission members, unless there's an obvious conflict, by the end of day on Tuesdays to keep in compliance. And then on Thursdays, the documents will be sent into DocuSign to meet the necessity of having all signatures completed by the following Tuesday, so that they can be issued appropriately. Are there any thoughts or comments or concerns on that statement?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I'm sorry, somehow I can't have my hand raised here, so I was hoping that will be okay to speak.
absolutely.
So you're saying that DocuSign documents will come in on Tuesday and Thursday? Or can they come anytime during the week?
So as of right now, with the lack of workflow, they've been coming in whenever I can get to it. But once we have a more established workflow with this implementation, the documents would be put into DocuSign on Thursdays the week prior to the Tuesday that we're requesting them to be signed off on. So
Okay,
you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and end of day Tuesday.
gotcha. Thank you.
So is the expectation that the ones that are coming in on Thursday will be from the meeting that we had the Wednesday, the day before? For the
Yeah,
most
that's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think this is a great process. That's my comments. Does anyone else in the commission have any comments about that? Okay, so thank you for letting us know, Sophie. And and then I would send out an email to the entire commission, just letting everybody know, because I don't know when Mary and Chris will see
Mhm.
this, but I guess there's nothing to send out from today. But just in general, just to get it all in writing and make sure everybody is aware.
Yep, absolutely. I'll send that out.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next we have the 100 Townsend Harbor Chapter 61 removal. So do you want to fill us in on that, Sophie, or are we all aware of what's going on with that? 100 Townsend Harbors coming out of Chapter 61, and we have a right of first refusal. I spoke to Mary about this a couple weeks ago. It doesn't sound like there would be any reason that we would want to exercise that right, but if anybody has any thoughts on that, I'm glad to hear them. Okay, and I don't think we want, Mary to be involved and Chris to be involved in that anyway. If we were, so if it's okay, I'm gonna move on to the next topic, which is wildlands grants. Which I actually am not familiar with. Does anybody have any? Or am I thinking of something that has the same name? But is that the thing that Chris was sponsoring at the last meeting?
That was the paint. I know he was sponsoring the paint stewardship program.
So we decided
that was
not to move
dropped.
Yeah. So this is, I remember there was another grant that he was, but I think that was the farmland of local, no, that was Mary with the farmland of local importance. Does anybody have any visibility on the wildlands grant? That's on
I
the agenda?
have an email chain of her requesting. Okay, Chris was part of this.
I think
and
it
he has an
is,
outline.
okay, yep.
I can share it if you would like.
Yeah, absolutely. Or so maybe if Chris is sponsoring it, I
Mhm.
think that maybe we should wait until he's here next week at the next
Okay.
meeting.
All right.
But I do remember what it was now. So if everybody's okay with that, we'll move on and save that for Chris for when he's on the meeting. Okay. Farmlands of local importance. I believe Chris also, no, Mary sponsors that. Do we want to touch on that at all? Okay. All right, conservation budget report. Do you have anything that you want to talk about for that, Sophie?
That's kind of like a placeholder to have for every agenda. The budget report is uploaded to the SharePoint for everyone to look at and review on every 15th of the month. So
Okay,
if you have any questions or concerns or want to discuss it, that's the materials there.
okay, great. Do you have any updates on the senior volunteer program?
Unfortunately, not that specific program. We haven't had anybody come in and qualify for that specific program. But I did get really good news that one of the citizens that lives nearby and is part of the lakes protection and maintenance, she will be volunteering in the office to help with a lot of different tasks. She just needs to go through HR to fill out some paperwork. But
Okay,
that'll be really great.
okay. And then I have tree policy.
So I think this also may be one that I would rather, it's not pressing, it's not a pressing subject, so I think I'd rather wait and push it off until Chris and Mary are present.
Okay.
But I would actually want to ask if the commission has had a chance to review any of the documents, because it was brought up briefly before.
So, okay, I actually have, hold on. To refresh myself. No, it's not letting me open it. So I'm gonna refrain from making any comments because I wanted to refresh myself before I said anything about it. So we table that to the next meeting unless anyone has any objections. So I'll definitely be prepared for the next meeting. Moving on to old business. Do we have any updates on title searches? I don't think anyone who's involved in that is on the meeting today. And then also April Earth Day events, which is technically Mary's domain. I don't think anyone else is involved in that with her at all, or Mike, or you?
I checked in with the Lunenburg Public Library and the Lunenburg Pollinator Habitat, and it looks like it wasn't quite on the public library's radar yet, but they're hopefully going to get something organized. But Pollinator Habitat is very excited, and they're planning some events. And I told them that we would be happy to help them during our meetings to promote whatever they have. So I'm hoping by the next meeting, we will have some information on the Pollinator Habitat's Earth Day event.
Okay. And
Okay.
then if you have information, Sophie, would we want to put that on the agenda for the beginnings, just so that it could be an announcement when people are in the meeting? Would that be how that would work?
I'm assuming under the like appointment section.
Okay. And then so Mike, you would just let Sophie know so she could put anything that you wanted on the agenda for some visibility.
Sounds good. I will do that.
Okay. All right, so next we have encroachment issues. Do you have any updates on any of these properties, Sophie?
I do not.
Okay. So then I'm going to move on to open space and land use. We have the chapter 61 OpenGov workflow. Did we have anything that we wanted to touch on that for tonight? It looks like, Sophie, do you know how that goes in OpenGov? There's a chapter 61.
It's well, when I was working closely with Brian on going through all the OpenGov updates and whatnot, that was kind of added as a future want, but as
Okay.
of now, it hasn't been revisited because of other necessities happening.
Okay. And then do we have any grants updates?
Not on my end. I forget who kind of tackles that.
Usually Mary seems to know the most about grants. All right, and then conservation land improvement updates?
I think that also
No.
might be a Mary topic.
I know Bob has been out doing some improvements as he does. And he's, repaired a few bridges and things like that. So I guess I'll move on to the Hollis Road residents. Mike, do you have any updates about that?
Yeah, I called on to Chris Ruth to give us an update on the search for replacement cabinets, and I called him earlier this week, and he says, "Oh yeah, Nick's working on that, but I'm not sure." So he was going to give Nick a call, and I didn't get a call back. So I'm assuming that there have not been any cabinets found this week, but we continue to talk about it and work on it, and hopefully they will arrive for our Hollis Road residents.
Okay, great.
All right.
All right, so moving on to committee reports. Mary is not here to report on open space, and I could not connect into the last, I dropped after about 15 minutes on the last stormwater, so I still have to watch the meeting, so I don't have any updates there. Do we have any, we don't have any public comment because there's no one here from the public. And do we have any communications or updates from any members of the commission? Okay. All right, well, I guess with that, I'd be looking for a move to adjourn. Oh, Sophie?
Sorry, I
Did I
just had
miss
a
something?
question.
Absolutely.
With the new commissioner, should we start adding their name to documents as an official member?
I would, yeah, I would,
Okay.
just make sure he got sworn in. But it sounded like he was planning on doing it today. So you might want to
Okay.
also maybe check and make sure that he's getting his email and maybe reach out to him. Make sure he knows how to get on meetings. Is that something that you would normally do?
Yeah, in conjunction with probably IT, but yes.
Okay,
I think he needs to complete an open meeting law certification course too. So I think you need to get that.
That would probably be through human resources.
Thanks, so.
so I think I actually just went and signed up for it myself.
Oh, okay.
When I was appointed, and I was able to do it like that day. You can just look for it on the, when I got sworn in, I forget the woman's name. I feel bad about that, but she told me just to go and do the open meeting course and then send it to her, I think. So hopefully somebody is giving him some clarification on that. Or maybe someone from our commission can. But that's a good point, Richard. Do we have anything else? Okay, I guess I'd be looking for a move to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, roll call. Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
aye.
Richard Bursch,
Aye.
and I for myself.
Excellent
Right.
job, Jenny.
Nice
Thanks
job,
for
Jeff.
bearing with me
Yes,
tonight.
Did great.
you did
Thanks.
very well.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Thank
You,
you.
Mike.